He was a slave child. Teaching him the alphabet was a crime. So he traded bread to white street boys for letters. 40 years later, the President of the United States called him my friend. He was born around February of 1818 on a Maryland plantation. In his grandmother's small wooden cabin. He never knew the exact day. His mother was a slave. His father was a white man, almost certainly her master. He was taken from his mother before he could remember her face. His name then was Frederick Bailey. When he was 12, the wife of his new owner began teaching him the alphabet. When her husband found out, he flew into a rage. Learning, he shouted, would forever unfit a slave to be a slave. The boy heard him, and he understood, at 12 years old, exactly what his master had just given him. Knowledge, he later wrote, was the pathway from slavery to freedom. So he traded bread for letters. He carried a small piece of bread in his pocket and gave it to white street boys in exchange for what they were learning that week in school. Slowly, in secret, he taught himself to read. He read newspapers, he read the Bible, he read about a place called the North, where men like him were free. On the morning of September 3rd, 1838, at 20 years old, he put on a borrowed sailor's uniform, took the borrowed papers of a free black sailor, and stepped onto a train heading north. 24 hours later, he was in New York City. He was free. He took a new name from a Walter Scott poem, Frederick Douglass. He had survived 20 years of slavery and had a few dollars to his name. 3 years later, in a small church on Nantucket Island, he stood up in front of a crowd and spoke for the first time about what he had survived. The most famous abolitionist in America was sitting in the audience and hired him on the spot. In 1845, his autobiography sold 30,000 copies. In 1863, he walked into the White House and shook hands with Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln called him my friend. He died in 1895, the most photographed American of the 19th century. He once said this, "If there is no struggle, there is no progress." The boy who traded bread for letters in a Baltimore alley spent the next 60 years showing his country what knowledge does to a chain. Follow for more untold stories.